They are one of the newest members of the Big 12 Conference, and I'm very excited to get to know this program a little bit better, especially as they are now going to be playing their 50th season as a softball program. Very excited to welcome for the first time here on the Ten12 podcast, Coach Amy Hogue of Utah. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Phillip. I'm excited to be here.
I we've been doing this for a little while now. We've had the privilege of having, at this point, every Big 12 coach, except for all of the new ones. You're all going to get into the rotation. Don't worry. Here on the show, and one thing I always like to talk about, especially this last year a lot with new programs joining in Houston and BYU and UCF is I don't know enough about Utah. I'm gonna be blunt. I pay attention to the whole sport as much as I can. There's a lot of teams to try and digest, and being Big 12 focused, Utah has not played other Big 12 teams a lot during our time of really covering softball. So 50 years now. This is the 50th season. That's an awesome achievement. You've been there for at this point. This will be your 18th season as head coach, 27th year with the program overall. You've been there for more than half of the program's existence. So you should know better than probably anybody else. What is Utah softball?
Mm, That's nice. Well, I can't hide my age now, I guess, with all those numbers you just threw out, which is just fine. I am so proud to have been part of more than half of the seasons that have been played here at Utah. The established program that I got to walk into was amazing. And so we actually ran a 40th year reunion, obviously 10 years ago, and we're going to do one this fall, just to honor the history of this place and who was here when it started, because I wasn't. And the things that were done ahead of me just kind of set it up. I actually had no excuse to not come in here and win games and have women come in and enjoy their journey and find success on and off the field. The women that ran the program before me, because it was Norma Carr, who started the program, very first head coach, and then Joe Evans, who coached me, Mona Stevens, who hired me. Like the connections and the women that ran it were all from here. They all were Utah through and through. So I think what that says about the program in a nutshell is the people that have been here have cared about it, have been loyal to it. And it's really what makes it great, I think. It's like one big giant family.
You know, I, I'm always curious. When jobs open at colleges across any sport, there's always fans who want to bring home the the favorite son or the favorite daughter that have that relationship, really know what this school is as something that some people view as a value. And sometimes that's great. Sometimes it doesn't indicate whether a coach is going to have success or not. But for you, as you sit here and talk about the essentially the connected tissue of this program through all of its different coaches and relationships, how has that benefited Utah as a softball program to you in your mind?
Well, I think the first thing I thought of when you talked about that was whether it was this recruiting class that I went out and chatted with, or the class that I recruited when I first got here. They all keep coming back to the same thing, and they want a relationship. They want to be seen and heard and just noticed. Really, I mean, it's fair to say that it's tough these days for these young women to find where they fit in the world. And I think we're a place that can feel like home. We oftentimes have a lot of out-of-state kids that would consider this place home because they become family. And I think that's something that everyone still these days are needing and is looking for. And I think it's been something we've used in our recruiting. And I think you can ask any class. I got a picture yesterday, a text from a mom of an athlete. Actually, she sent me two of her daughters. So for 8 years, I had this family as part of my team. And she sent me a photo of two of my former players with their children at Disneyland together. I mean, this was a dozen years ago, these kids. And yet the connections and the family that continues on because of what's built and what's really grown, it's fostered. It's really a great thing, and I'm proud of it.
Awesome. Culture I think is a buzzword that gets used in sports a lot. Everyone's talking about their culture, and I think some places have a true culture, and some places just talk about it because it's the thing you talk about. And so, like when I hear you describing this program, it does sound like you have a very set culture that has been established. I mean, obviously it's going to change through the eras and through coaches and through players, but that culture of true family and connection, again, that connective tissue, seems like something that you guys really have there at Utah, which I think is something you can't fake, you can't make up, you can't come in and just try and say, this is what we're going to do. Like it's something that's built over time, and when it's real, it is an incredible thing to be a part of.
It is, and I do think that part of it is just what I walked into. Joe Evans did it that way. And I became a mom early in my coaching career. I took this job with a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So, like, there wasn't a day where they didn't feel family. And I got that from my coach who didn't have children, but who felt and treated us like her own. And it's just something that I believed has been really special about this place. I don't know a lot about how other programs do it. I played here, I've coached here, and we're busy enough. I really haven't noticed how anyone else is doing it. I know how we're going to do it. And it's getting tougher, like I said, especially when kids are in and out more often. But as long as they're here, we're going to love on them and hug them and call them our own.
I gotta say, I've got a 6-year-old, 4-year-old, and 2-year-old at home, so we may have to chat after this is over, and I'll pick your brain for some parenting advice.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
this is a big change for Utah, obviously, along with Arizona State softball coming over from the Pac-12, or what was the Pac-12, into the Big 12. Obviously, it probably helps to have Arizona and Arizona State in the conference who you're familiar with, having BYU here, another program you're familiar with. But obviously, I don't know how much you guys have played the Baylor and Iowa State and UCF and the other programs that are already here. What has Utah softball and Utah's an athletic department for the softball program done to help you guys prepare for this transition into a new conference?
Well, I think what prepared us the most was the Pac-12. I honestly believe that if we going from the Mountain West Conference that I coached in to the Pac-12 was a giant transition. And it really grew us as a program and a softball program. And we built a new stadium and we gained some new fans and really upped the level of every single thing that we do around here. The support I've gotten from the department as far as to go and do what I need to do, it has been phenomenal. So really, it was just a matter of time. And then to go from the Pac-12 to the Big 12, I feel much more prepared than I did from going to the Mountain West to the Pac. So I think that's what prepared us the most. Nothing's going to be really shocking about big crowds and loud stadiums and all of the fans that are in our faces because we've played at some places that have taught us how to deal with that. So I would say that experience has grown us the most and gotten us the most ready.
What are your thoughts on this new Big 12 conference? Obviously, Oklahoma, Texas off to the SEC, Utah, Arizona State coming in, joining fellow, let's say, newcomers, UCF, Houston, BYU. You've got Oklahoma State left, Texas Tech going through their coaching change, Iowa State, Baylor, a consistently solid program. Looking at this new conference, what are your thoughts on it as far as a softball conference goes?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm sure if you ask every one of us, we'll all have a different answer. But for me personally, I'm excited for the newness of, like you said, have you played some of these teams? We have, but we haven't traveled to a lot of those home sites. So to go to Iowa State and play them 3 times, that's very different for us. And I couldn't be more excited for that day. We've played them, we've played UCF, we've played the likes of Houston. Never been to Houston's campus. We go to Texas Tech this year, never been there. But that is the only one that we go to this year that's new for us. We've been to Oak State. Um, and we have BYU at home at their place this year, and we go to Arizona. So those are places we've been. But what hasn't happened is we've never hosted three of the schools that are coming here, and I actually think that's exciting because anytime it's someone's first time to play at Dumke Softball Stadium, that is it's shocking. Baylor came here to play us for regionals, and I'm sure they would attest to it's a tough place to play.
Yeah, I remember that was 2 years ago was the regional because that's the year you guys made it all the way to Oklahoma City for the Women's College World Series. So that is very exciting. I am curious. Now, going through the coaching staff that you guys have now, your three, I would say, lead assistants, Paige Parker, Courtney Martinez, and Kaja Gibson, all have experience in the Big 12 previously. Kaja had spent some time at UCF. Parker, of course, played for Oklahoma and then was spent there a year there as an assistant. And then Courtney Martinez spent 6 years at Iowa State. How much does that experience that they've had at these programs in this conference, how do you guys use that to benefit you?
Yeah, it's helpful. I mean, I tease that the only thing I need from them is a map to get to Ames, but quite honestly, and know where to eat and all of that. But there's still people in those programs or coaches in those programs that those coaches of mine are familiar with, and that's always going to benefit you. The turnover is so great, like you said. There's been some coaches turnover, so some programs are completely different in 2 years' time, and this is their second year with me, so they might not be familiar with the programs at all, but they're comfortable with it, and that's always helpful. Can show us the lay of the land, but it's still 60 feet and turn left, so that doesn't change no matter where you're at.
So a lot of newness. I would say new is kind of the theme for Utah this year. Obviously, brand new conference that you're a part of. A lot of new faces on this roster. Turning over a lot of seniors after last year. You've got, I think, 7 freshmen. Some transfers are coming in. A junior college player who's coming in as well. I'm always curious how teams gel. I asked Coach Glasgow this as well of like when you bring in a bunch of new faces and you have new people on a team, yes, you have some experience there. Yes, you have some leadership from years past, but how is this team gelling so far with all these new members here on the roster?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too, Philip. It's so funny because we just had a team retreat this last weekend. So we rented this big house. Every class is in charge of preparing a meal. And I literally just sat at the counter and watched them do their thing around each other and didn't really have much of a hand in it, besides making sure they didn't burn the house down and that they played some games together. But watching the way that they do them, watching the way that they live life, watching the things they laugh at, things when I have meetings with them that bring them to, emotion, you can tell what they care about. And those are the pieces that I think are, I just put them in my back pocket. I have meetings with them one-on-one. As a matter of fact, I have 15 of them on the schedule between the next 2 days. And what are your expectations? How do you feel like you fit? How can I best support you as you go into the first season ever? Because I've already done this a million times but they're here doing it for the first time. So finding a way to live through them helps me to cultivate a new team, right? I don't want to do anything the same as last year if the players aren't the same players. And you just named how much turnover we have. So the face of our program can change a lot. Now, the culture is still the culture, but I just told you that I care a lot about them, and how they tick, and let's make the program fit them, and you have those staple items that there's no gray area on. but mostly it's great besides that. So what do you want to accomplish? Who are you as a group? And having meetings or get-togethers that can allow those things to kind of naturally, organically show up and then turn it into a team. I think it's why I've been the most proud of the way that this program finishes seasons. You know, sometimes we're slow to get going and it drives me crazy. And I think it's just going to be the worst year ever. And then I just see some of the things, the fruits of the labor, just they just keep putting into each other. And as we travel and get to know each other more and more, we're playing our best ball. And it's happened a bunch for this program. And I think a lot of what I just talked about is why that happens. And so I get to be patient. This new group, we certainly don't know who we are yet. But it's helpful to get out and start playing games and start encouraging them that they can be the greatest team to ever be here. And then how that looks is really up to them. So I'm excited to see what they become. I'm really curious, just like you, to what that's going to look like this year. But don't judge us early because we're not a team that you can ever turn your back on.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I know. Look, team, teams are always evolving and changing year to year and even within a season because how you start and how you finish, especially in softball with as many games as are played. Um, this idea that you are who you are week one at the start of February are going to be the same team at the end of the year. It's just so far from the truth. The number of games and the length of the season help allow so much opportunity to me for change and growth and development. I mean, we see it in every sport, but I really think softball and any sport that has this number of games that you guys play, I think that really starts to show itself a lot. Looking at this team, obviously a lot of new faces, a lot of leadership has left. So who on this roster do you feel like has really stepped up to kind of take over those leadership roles, be it on the field or off the field, and helping get this team where it needs to be?
Well, the last couple of years, we didn't have captains for the first time in our program's history, at least since I've been here, which again, those last couple of seasons, we had so many people leading that I actually thought it was going to limit and they thought it was going to limit the freedom to have anybody lead at any time. So we just kind of put a kibosh on that. And this year we put it back in. Again, you got to get a pulse on your team and what they need. So we allow the team to vote for captains, and three rose to the top. And I love the choice that they made in their captains this year. Kendall Lundberg, who's a fourth year senior catcher, lots of starts, really taking charge on and off the field of this is what it takes to be great and showing us what that looks like and telling us. She's a big voice for us, not just a doer, but isn't someone that lets us just kind of mope around. She's got a prod in us a little bit, which is useful with this team because I think they're a pretty steady team and our pace is a little slow. Steady's good, but we're a little slow. So Kendall's been great. We have another senior, Shelby Ortiz. She's actually in her fifth year. She redshirted a year. And again, and two totally different types of players and different perspective on the game. She's played pretty much everywhere but pitch and catch. So with Kendall, she's kind of got the battery covered, and Shelby will play outfield, and she's a speed player and a slapper, and she also plays some first base. So we're really covering all the things with between the two of them. And then someone who hasn't had a lot of playing time, but I expect will play every day she's healthy in the infield for us is Haley White. And she goes by Whitey. And Whitey has been um, the most amazing backup to our, the last two seasons with so much success. If anyone got hurt in the infield, Haley White was ready. As a matter of fact, it's really hard to have her on the field every day because she was the most reliable backup I've had in the history of ever. And I don't like the fact that she's out there already because what happens if something happens to her? So, but she is the catch-all um, for pretty much everything. Really good at keeping us in order, and plays both second and third because she played backup so much for both spots that she's ready to go anywhere. So we'll bounce her back and forth. But she's a junior, so she'll help lead the team, hopefully for the next couple of years.
I'm always curious on coaches' scheduling philosophy because I don't know why I'm a schedule nerd. Like when schedules drop, non-conference schedules drop, I'm just sitting here in every sport just poking through everything. Like, okay, what's this? What's this? I'm building out unnecessary Google sheets that I, probably shouldn't spend time doing, but I'm gonna do them anyways. And going through what you have put together for this team, especially a team with as many new faces that's as young as it is. Outside of conference play, you've got games against UCLA, LSU, Nebraska, Northwestern, Cal, Washington, Oregon. Like there is this is not a an easy slate of games in non-conference. I'm always curious coaches' philosophy on putting together a non-conference schedule. Do you change your philosophy based off what the team has, what the expectations are, or do you have a this is how we're going to do things, these are the expectations here in non-conference, this is what we're going to do every year? What do you do when you put together a non-conference schedule, and what were your thoughts on this year's?
Well, I'm going to give a shout out, and I should have already done this about 12 times already, just to my coaches because that is their jam. And they're like you, they know all the teams and they geek out on all that kind of stuff, which is useful because I don't. I think there's some things that I care about, and that is that we get near the homes of the kids we've recruited so they can play around their families. That matters to me a lot. I like the senior class to have some say on one of the tournaments that we go to so that they can help me pick somewhere they've never been. Those things matter to me. Um, I obviously am in charge of the budget, so those things drive some of the things that I do, but that's kind of my lane for things. And then my staff is more intrigued in, all right, how does this play out? RPI, who we have coming in, who they're returning. They keep track of all of that way better than I do. I'm still stuck in, that Naja is playing for Stanford, so let's play Stanford in preseason, but instead she's playing for Texas Tech. So yeah, I'm not caught up at nearly as much as them, so I rely on them a lot. I do like to mix it up and go to new places. Our conference now is going to take us to some places a little farther from home, and so I think we'll stay on the West Coast in preseason because that's where our recruiting base has been. Whereas we used to flip that, where we used to play a lot of preseason in Florida and in Hawaii and some farther places, but we might stick a little closer to West Coast, knowing that the Big 12 is going to take us maybe to Florida and Iowa and Kansas and Texas. So those are my thoughts on it. I get bored if we go the same places, so I'm ready to go somewhere I've never been. So we haven't been to Fresno and who knows how long. So that was just random. Another California, and it's an area we started recruiting, so some of that comes into play. But since we don't get to play at home, we also don't get to choose our opponents in these preseason tournaments all the time. So it's really tough to just say this is all based on RPI because we don't get to choose as much as people think that we do. So
I love that you let seniors have an input. I think that's awesome. Them getting an opportunity to say, "Hey, we would love to go here, do this." That is absolutely fantastic. I like your non-conference schedule, and I build I build RPI resume sheets throughout the year that I keep updated for Big 12 teams just to see like where your quad one, two, three, four wins and lot. I am one of those people who absolutely geeks out on this stuff. I find it all very interesting. So I share your assistant coach's passion for it. Uh,
do you share that info? I would love to
I
get
would
that info
I would
because
be
then I can
happy to.
participate. I can look like I know what I'm saying. I'll steal your stuff and then I'll come into a meeting that I'll blow them away. They won't even know what hit them.
I make those things readily available. I would be happy to share with you.
Okay,
Not a
great.
problem.
Don't tell anyone.
Lips are sealed.
Okay.
Promise. Your secret safe with me. Uh, Coach, I really appreciate it. You have been absolutely awesome today. I want to wrap on this. Obviously, you're excited for the season to start. Every season is new. What is something about this year that you maybe is different than years past that you're looking forward to, that you're excited about, or is something that's just going to make this year unique to you?
Well, obviously the Big 12. That's really unique. But really, I always think about my players when you ask a question like that, which I should. I have so many that have waited for their chance. And, we played a lot of the same kids for the last 2, 3 years. And some kids have been waiting their turn. Even Kendall, who I just talked about, who hasn't played every day since early in her career. And I am so excited for some of those that have worked really hard for their opportunity to show that the investment that we had in them and the work that they've put in is paying off. And to watch them get their shot is great. I mean, the lineup is so new. I can't wait to introduce some of these players who I know really well to the world who's never seen them because we had the likes of Mariah Lopez and pitching and Ali Velarde playing second like every day. These faces were there, and now nobody really knows who I've got, and I know who they are. I'm excited for them. They've earned some chances, and I have that box seat right there at third base, and I can't wait to watch them perform. It's my greatest joy.
Coach, I'm thrilled to have you guys in the conference. I cannot wait to get my first real taste of Utah softball this season and really be able to opportunity to watch and learn about you guys as a program and see this team throughout the year. I cannot wait. The season could start today and it would still be too far off, but I'm ready to go, and I'm sure you and your players are feeling the same way. So good luck to you and your girls this year. Cannot wait to get you back on, get some of the players on, and just continue to familiarize ourselves and learn more about Utah softball.
Great. I appreciate the time that you put into this and what you do for the sport that obviously we both love. So thank you for what you do. And go Utes.